Hey, everybody. Hope and pray that you're doing well today as we come to our word from the word. And today, that word is wait. Wait. Now, I hope you smiled a little bit, at least looking at that picture. Oftentimes you talk about that ball and chain when the people get married and they say, well, the husband's got that ball and chain, got that weight tied to him. Now, any of that I'm saying today, just fun and games. But it's interesting as you get to First Corinthians chapter 7 that Paul is addressing the single people, the married people, and the widows. And he's giving advice, giving things from the Lord of how we should handle each of those situations. Now, you can read it for yourself. As always, I encourage you to read the whole chapter so you can see what he says to kind of each group. But I think you can summarize it as you go through. You're going to see he says several times, that you would remain as you are or as you were, and just to think about saying, look, the situation you're in, and even as is, hey, you were saved, and you were saved in that situation. God's going to leave you there. Wants you to continue there, and he even talks about slaves that are born again. Saved in that moment. He says, look, yes, if you can be free, by all means, seek after that opportunity. But at the same time, basically, be fruitful where you are. Grow where you're planted first. So that's kind of that theme that he has going through it, kind of in the middle of it. So it's relationships all around. Some dealing with marriage, some dealing without, as you look through the whole chapter. But today, as we talk about that weight, I think you can summarize. Let's get back to what I was trying to say a minute ago. That when you get to the focus that we can have, and so he sums it up here, kind of in the middle of it, in verses 32 through 35 of First Corinthians chapter 7 today. But I want you to be without care. He who is he who is unmarried, cares for the things of the Lord, how he may please the Lord. But he who is married cares about the things of the world, how he may please his wife. There is a difference between a wife and a virgin. The unmarried woman cares about the things of the Lord, that she may be holy both in body and in spirit. But she who is married cares about the things of the world, how she may please her husband. And this I say for your own profit, not that I may put a leash on you, but for what is proper, and that you may serve the Lord without distraction. That last part, that you may serve the Lord without distraction. Now, at first you hear that and you say, "Well, wait a minute, man. He's saying if you're married, that you're seeking after the world." That's not what he's saying. Okay. Now, remember, if he's talking to a group of believers, he says, "Look, let's compare the two. All right. If you're a single believer, you have more time to focus your attention on the Lord. If you're married, you have more time that you have to split your time. You have to try to spend time with the Lord, and you're trying to spend time with your spouse, with your kids, with your family. Right? It's not that he's saying, look, those responsibilities are bad. And it's not saying that, hey, I want to focus on the Lord, and that means I can just put all my responsibilities behind so that family doesn't matter. I'm going after the Lord. No, there's a balance to be made there. Now, we also know that just because you're single doesn't mean you're going to focus on the Lord. Right. And so with that, and even he speaks to widows, to that part, it says that now that you remain as you are for the same reason. So if you want to get remarried, that's fine. He says, but if you choose to remain, then you too can focus more on the Lord. Now, there again, that's not an automatic thing. All of us, it's not even in that any of us, just because we're Christians, that we rightfully split our time as married, myself married. It's not that I split that the right way. Sometimes probably the family gets neglected. Sometimes the Lord gets neglected. And so there's this constant battle. But single and widows, you'll face the same thing. But the battle is a little different. Your battle is, are you going to live for yourself, or are you going to live for the Lord? Right? It's a different dynamic. you can put them all, everybody, all of us, all into one group. And what Paul is saying is that we need to serve the Lord without distraction. That's how important it is that our families are focused on the Lord together so that it's not as much a distraction, that we're all going to the same goal. That while as singles or widows, that you use your time wisely for the Lord. See, there's a weight, and it's kind of like that ball and chain kind of picture that too often we are tied to the world. Too often we're more concerned with what the world thinks, what the world says, and the distractions of it all. If you go right back to the verse before, verse 31, he says, look, you need to understand that this world is passing away. And even in the verses before that, he says, look, you don't need to rejoice as much as you realize that we'll do our rejoicing in heaven, because here we have a job to do. And as we weep here, it's kind of that same thought. We don't weep as a people without hope, because we have a hope for what does lie ahead. We have to remember that we're just passing through this world, that God is, once we are born again, now our residence is in heaven. So our focus, while we can't act like, that we're not in this world, I keep saying this over and over, that we're in this world, but we're not of this world. And so once we are citizens of heaven, our responsibility, our focus, the weight that we have then has to be on what is in glory and what God has for us to do while we're here. So don't be carrying the burden of the world and what it wants you to do, what it tempts you to do. The only weight we should be carrying is the burden that the Lord has put on us. And you remember what Jesus said? Come to me, all you who are weary and heavy laden, for I will give you rest. See, we give him all our weights, all our cares, all that world has put on us. We give that to the Lord. He takes it away, and he says that his burden for us is light. Isn't that something? What he gives us to carry is light. But it's so much more important than what the world would put on us. Today, spend time focusing on the Lord. Try to put away distractions. And let's grow in our relationship with him first and foremost. God bless you, and I pray you have a great, great day.